Hello, how the hell are you? Top of the morning, happy St. Patrick's Day, and welcome back to the Greasy Paint channel with me, Kenny K, your favorite painter with the pompadour, aka the slick-haired painter, aka the actor who also paints, aka Mr. Let's Paint Together, aka if I can do it, so can you, aka alright, we get the point, start the video. Alright everyone, so since this is a holiday special for St. Patrick's Day, you know, lately I've been very inspired by the landscape of Ireland, all the beautiful greenery it has. Now, unfortunately, I've never been there, but I do have a friend who took a vacation there a few years ago, and from what I've seen and heard, it's just beautiful. I think it's going to make a great painting, so what do you say? Want to grab some brushes and paint along with me?
No, I don't think I will.
But before we do anything at all, it would be great if you could all take the moment and hit the like and subscribe buttons below.
It would be so awesome. It would be so cool.
And while you're at it, don't forget to hit the notification bell right by there, and you'll know when all the paintings go live so you can paint right along with me. So we have a 16 by 20 canvas up on our easel. You use whatever size you want. And very important, we have a thin coat of our thin white medium on there, slick white, magic white, whatever you guys use, liquid white. I'm just taking the 2-inch brush now and going over it very firmly, making sure I can get any possible extra paint off the brush, or off the canvas, I should say. So now I got to get it off the brush. And see? And that's why we don't want too much paint on the canvas. All right, so I want a nice blue sky right in our scene right here. And I'm not going to tap too much blue into our brush. As a matter of fact, that's really only I'm going to start off with. And I could always add more. I'm going to start here in this corner and do my X strokes. And really, I'm just going down from 11 o'clock down to 5 o'clock, 2 o'clock down to 7. Really, really fast. And for you beginners out there, you can either do it like that or do these figure of 8 strokes, which is basically the same thing. Your brush just doesn't leave the canvas. Whatever is easier, whatever you find more fun to do. And that's, yeah, I'm glad. That's exactly the amount of blue I want in my sky, just for today. Sometimes you can make it darker, a little bit more blue. And if you still want to do that, just tap in more and go to town. And I want a nice blue sky up in here. Just gonna blend away the brush strokes now. And it's easy to do when you didn't have that much paint on your brush. All right, wow, I got a lot of brush hairs on there today. What's happening? All right, whatever. Okay, maybe we can darken just a little bit, just a tiny bit on this side. Being very, very careful not to add too much. Okay, folks, so with our sky now up in the sky, one of the most beautiful things that Ireland is known for is something I have never painted in a landscape before. So what do you say? For the first time today, let's paint in a rainbow. Now first, let's decide in our scene where we want this rainbow, where we want that arch to go over. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to rip off some shop towels, which I use mostly to clean the brushes with. I highly recommend them. So I'm going to wrap it up and take my finger in there, just like that. Make sure it's not crumpled too much on your fingertip, because that's what we're going to use.
Just use finger, first joint the finger.
And decide where you want your arch. So let's say, and this is the greatest thing, because let's say I just decide for it to go right there. Step back from your painting, and if you decide you don't like that, simply take your 2-inch brush and blend it away.
And just like that, it's gone like an angel's kiss.
We're just deciding right now, we're just going to block in where we want this multicolored arch. So let's do it again. And let's see, just take your time with this. How about,
Three hours later.
I'd say I want my rainbow right about there. Yeah. And maybe just one more time with a freshly wrapped finger. Just go over it one more time like that. Yeah. Just make sure you get all that excess paint off. It's going to be a lot easier placing in our color. Now, I am going to start with the brightest color first. And usually that would be yellow, right? And there's really not much paint using the fan brush. Not much paint on there, and that's okay. And we're going to start from the bottom down here, and it's going to show up the brightest. And that might actually be too much paint. And we're just going to follow that arch and line up our fan brush like this. And there we go. Just go for it.
Just do it!
Now the next strongest color would be red, but I'm going to use some crimson for that. And I'm really going to where that crimson is laid out on my palette, right at the bottom there, because again, you don't want too much paint for this. And a little bit of that yellow will orange it up just a tiny bit. That's okay. You can see a lot of that paint's coming off that palette. It's almost like you just want to stain your brush with that color. I haven't cleaned the brush between the yellow and the crimson. That's okay. So let's start on top of the yellow, because that's usually where the color sits if you look up pictures of rainbows. So just right there, and there we are. Now you don't need to fully clean that fan brush, but get that color that you have had on there right off with just a shop towel, and that'll be good enough for the next color. So now let's go into some phthalo blue. And we're going to put that right underneath the yellow. And it's okay if it touches the yellow a little bit. Line that up. And there we go. Now go ahead and clean that excess color off. I'll even just wipe it off on the palette there. And fix my lines here and sort of kind of lightly blend it, and you'll get that green color mixed in with the yellow. But make sure not to cover the yellow completely. You want that to show up there. So yeah, you have a little bit of hint of green in there, just like a real rainbow. Now, if just those three colors up there work for you, fine, leave it like that. But I'm actually, I'm feeling kind of confident today. I'm gonna go into a little bit of crimson with the phthalo blue on my brush. Make a bit of a purple color. Yep. I'm going to put that right under the blue. There we go. Yes, perfect.
Not bad.
And now it would be a good time to take a clean 1-inch brush, something we haven't used yet, and just line it up like this on the bottom of your rainbow. Very, very lightly. You are not going to put a firm pressure on this at all. You're just going to follow that arch through, blend those colors up. We don't want to blend them together. We just want to fade them a little. And you're only going to get one shot at this. So follow that arch, line it up, and there we are. That's it.
Oh my God! Wow!
And that rainbow sits up there higher than the price of eggs right now. So let's clean our 2-inch brush, get as much paint off as possible with the shop towels. Let's come over here, dip the brush into our solvent, try to get the drippings off the side there, and go over to our beater rack on the floor. And
the following day.
Sweet mother of God, what is the holdup?
And just beat it like it owes us a tax refund. I filed late. I actually did my own taxes this year. I should be in jail by Tuesday. So, another thing that Ireland is known for is its beautiful rolling hills. So let's make those, but first, let's mix up some, ooh, that's a lot of blue that got stuck on that knife. Some hill color with the knife first. There's going to be a lot of it. And we really just want this to be dark first. You got to make dark to show the light. And that's going to be the fun part. Okay, I'll take Van Dyke Brown as well. There we are. So we have blue, crimson, Dyke Brown, and just mix it thoroughly. I'll even, you know what, I'll even add burnt umber. Why not? Okay. Just keep picking it up and turning it over. It's actually quite fun, and I love the sound the knife makes against the palette. All right. Now with our clean 2-inch brush, you just want to tap into that color. Just tap it in onto the palette like that, both sides, and just tap it in.
All you gotta do is just tap it in. Just tap it in now.
Let's see. So like I said, we have the whole brush filled with color, but I'm really just trying to use the corner of that brush, especially on the top. It'll give you a more accurate depiction of what's in your mind. Okay, there's that first hill, maybe one right here. Maybe that's like that. Try not to make them all the same size. And this one will go right there, and we don't know where that rainbow is going to come from now, and that's okay. And I'm just tapping away. Just like we did on the palette when we loaded the brush. All right. Now, with that same dirty brush, now that we've decided where our hills are going to be, let's take, without cleaning it, going into our Cad Yellow. You can see what a nice brighter green color that's making. All right. Now let's try this. Let's add some highlights right where we put these hills. I should actually start over here. This is the furthest one away, I think. All right. And if you want to stick that one out a little bit brighter, I might actually have to load some more Cad Yellow on this palette. There's going to be a lot of green in this painting, just telling you now. All right. Yeah, let's try that now. Yep, that's a little better. And now this is a light, gentle tap. When you add the highlights, most of the time, it's very light, it's very gentle. And there we are. And we can even go into some yellow ochre just to mix it up. There we are. It's best to load it onto the brush just like that. You can go over a little bit what you already did. And up here too, right? And just lightly tap, very lightly. Tap over the dart that you already put onto the canvas. More Cad Yellow. I'll drag it out first, and then I'll tap. Both sides, both sides. Okay. Maybe I'll just go back over this again. It's catching some, actually, you know what? I'll go under here. There we are. And there might be a lot of texture sticking out from your painting, and that's okay. That's okay. That's a good thing. And maybe you can even do this. Go into a little bit of titanium white, just a little bit. You have that on your brush in the corner right there. That's good. And just on the very top, maybe this is catching the sun that's coming in. And also helps separate between the hills. And I'll dilute that a little. And if you decide you don't like that or if it's too bright, all you got to do is tap right on top of what you did and it'll dissipate. There we go. And if you want, if the brush is too big for you, you could have grabbed a 1-inch brush to do this. That's cool too. You spend as much time as you want making your highlights the way you want. Think about where the light is shining and coming from. I think today our light is coming from the left. All right. Okay.
This is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Oh, get it away from me, man.
Now, if that's your only brush, go ahead and clean that off, because you need to take a clean 2-inch brush, which luckily I have, and mist out the bottom of these hills. So we're just gonna, just the top corner like that, push down. Helps to do that at an angle. We're gonna mist out the bottom of those hills. Just gonna hold on to the side of the canvas while I do this, because this easel is not what it used to be, unfortunately. All right, there we go. Okay, so let's take some of that color we had to make those hills and put it right over there. Add some sap green to it. Maybe a little bit more green, right? And let's make some mid-ground trees. To do that, I'm gonna add a little bit of white just to lighten it up a bit. Just a bit. I guess that's the color I'm looking for. Okay, mix it to one solid color. So this might take me a minute, but it's really fun to do. So I certainly don't mind. Okay. Now that fan brush that we had before, we're gonna use it. And this is why we made so much of that color. We really want to get a lot of paint loaded onto that number 6 fan brush. Just turn it over and keep doing it. Okay. Now, even though we loaded the whole thing, what we're going to do, I'll show you on the palette, but what we're going to do on the canvas for these mid-ground trees, we're not going to see a lot of details in them. So going like this is how we're going to hit the canvas. So kind of like just that corner's edge, that's really all it's going to hit. And that's what you want to do, even though the whole brush is filled up. And there we are. And try your best not to make them all the same size. And if you find that a little bit difficult to do, all you have to do is, let's say you make them all the same size. Well, more importantly, make sure they're all together and not separate like this. But let's say you have trouble making them different sizes. If you make them all the same size, go ahead and do that. Make a nice straight horizon line through the whole thing if you want. And then just pick places here and there to make a bigger tree. Like that. That works better for you? Go ahead. So let's finish this off. I want this throughout the whole thing, and save the mist. That's going to help separate the hills from these middle ground trees standing in front of them. It's very important. And just crunching that brush on there. And don't worry, we're going to make more detailed versions of these trees in a second. But there we are. Now, just like how we made mist in the bottom of those hills, we got to do it to these middle ground trees. So take a clean 2-inch brush, whatever you got, And same thing, just with the corner on the bottom, just like that. And if it's getting too much paint, just turn it over. You have two sides of the brush for a reason. And missed out the bottom of these trees. And optional if you want. There we go. That doesn't matter. And another thing you can do if you want, after you get some excess paint off, is just straight up hold the brush horizontally and straight. Lift it up very lightly. This is not a firm pressure at all. It might just barely make a difference. I'm just trying to make the distinguishment between the blur of the trees and the mist a little less obvious. That's all. Yeah, that's cool. All right. So hopefully you guys have some mixture left for the undercolor of what we made for those hills, because we're going to need it again. And if you don't, just make more. Remember, it's crimson, blue, our browns, Van Dyke Brown and burnt umber. But this time, I'm just going to add black to it. And when you lay out your paints today, you're not going to need much black. That's really just all I'm going to use. I'm just putting it in there to make sure I have enough paint, because the rest of this now is all going to get covered with the same undercolor. Got to have that dark to show the light. I want this to look like a really nice painting. Really want it to remind people that that could be Ireland, but you know, like I said, I've never actually been there myself. And if you are from Ireland, or if you have been there, comment below. Tell me how it is. Tell me what you like best about it, what you like about living there. I would really, really like to know. Okay, so taking a clean 2-inch brush, or my favorite 2.5-inch brush, I should say, we're going to load a lot of that paint on there again, just like we did with the rolling hills. And first decide the top of where we want this, the foreground in. Now, save that misty area. You want to save that. Don't want to totally get rid of that. Maybe it just comes up and goes up like that. Maybe these hills that we're standing on to see all this isn't as high as the ones in the back. Too afraid to climb up there. Maybe you're scared of heights, that's fine. As long as you're not scared of painting. A lot of people are afraid to just put that brush to the canvas. Okay, and as we tap our brush on there, you'll notice that it gets diluted, but go into your color often, keep it dark. That's what happens when you have the thin white medium on there, but we still need it. You just have to learn how to paint with it. It's very important. Okay. And yep, I think that'll be it. So now that you've decided how you want this terrain to be, the rest of it, if you want, you can just keep tapping away and tapping away. Or you could really just see how hard painting is.
Oh man, you're just ruining it. Look at my lips, you're ruining it. Ruining.
Just gonna do this the quick way.
Sorry, I just think I'm too stupid to understand this.
It don't matter. What mattered was the top. Kind of like when we're making mountains, you know? What matters is the top edge. All right. And we do this because, once again, we need dark to show the light. We're gonna highlight all this just like we did with those hills. It's gonna look great.
I am not confident this video is gonna be good.
Normally, I would just tap and tap and tap. But given that this is St. Patrick's Day, I'm assuming everybody wants to go out and party, and I don't blame you. But maybe it's best to paint a nice picture before everybody gets schnockered and parties hard, right? Okay. Comment below what your favorite drink is, what you're going to have today. Cheers to all of you. All right, now granted, this is mostly going to be green. I want to make it a little interesting and maybe have some water in here too. And maybe it will be like a little stream or a waterfall here. I just want to decide where the terrain is going to be, where that water should be before we add in our greenery. So you can just go into some white color on the side first, like that. Go into more white color actually, and we made that color so dark, which is the right thing to do. And I hope you can see that on camera. Take more white. You can turn the brush a little sideways if you want, if that helps. Okay, and we'll bring it out later. Right now I'm just kind of blocking in things. Yeah, maybe that waterfall is going to be like that. But we'll see. We're getting a little bit ahead of myself here. Okay. I'll just add that white color and stick it there for now, so I can be able to tell when I add the greenery in, which we're going to do right now. Oh no, actually, don't want to do that. I am getting ahead of myself, guys. I am so sorry. Let's go into a little bit of that hill color, make it just a bit darker with our middle ground trees here. I want to make some trees like that are just a little bit more detailed, right? But that's the great thing about even me making a mistake. I can show you that it's not too late. I can show you how to correct it. And I'm going to make more details of these trees, right? So, the trees in Ireland, I read, are coniferous, and they're more the types of trees where the branches will go upwards. So let's make a very detailed tree. And using just the corner, like we usually do, instead, I'm going to flick the brush up with the very corner of that fan brush, the same number 6 fan brush, and I'm going to make not so much detail at the very top, but now I'm just going to push up a little bit, push up. And you can see those branches are more fuller when they stick up like that. See? Instead of them going down like I'm in the habit of mostly making. But it's good to be different sometimes and not always do the same thing over and over again. So let's make another one right next to it. And just touch with the brush, and then as you go down, it gets fuller. And there we are. And we'll come back to those in a second, but I didn't go down all the way because I want to miss that out too. Then we can make some more trees like that are even closer to us, and even more detail after we put all this green in. So let's decide first one here. All right. And just the corner. Just the corner. You got to be very mindful of that. Just pushing upwards. How about another one right next to it? Now, with all this paint on there is a reason, because when you make these trees, you got to make sure you're loading your brush to make that fan brush very sharp at the top. Trust me, it helps. This one's a little bigger. Don't make them all the same size. Or You can if you want. I'm just saying. It looks better and more natural when they're all different sizes. That's just the way I see nature and how I think it grows in my eyes. Alright, so now since this is a bit smaller, we can actually use a 1-inch brush to mist out that bottom right there. The very, very bottom. These are still a little distant. Alright, now we just go back to our hill color and fix that up right there. See? Perfect. No harm, no foul. Alright. Now with the brush we originally used to put all this dark color in, let's go in once again to some Cad Yellow. Do not even clean the brush. Tap both sides, make sure you get a lot of color on there. It's going to take a lot of paint, but yet such a light pressure. So there we go. Just tapping that color away.
Tap it in. Just tap it in. Give it a little tapping.
And yes, you go into some yellow ochre, you switch it up. You mix all your values, and there you are. You go right under there, and the more you tap, the more the color will get darker and dissipate. See? But if you want it to be brighter, just go into more bright paint. And look at this. See? And just start there. Make a whole bunch of hills that just separate each other. And like I said, you can go into titanium white a little bit every now and then. And if you decide that's too much, like I'm deciding now, just tap it away. There's nothing you can't fix. And you really have to have that mindset when you're painting these things. Okay. So since we made such a dark area, or a lot of it, I should say, such a big area that we have to cover up and just green out, it's going to take a little while. So just bear with me. Do not rush this process.
This is really boring. You really need to up the energy level. I'm getting sick of this.
Actually, now would be a good time to show you all paintings that were sent in to me. So as I do this, I'm going to show off paintings that were sent to me via all my friends on Instagram, you guys here through YouTube. Maybe you emailed it to me, maybe you sent me a message on Facebook. So first up, we actually have a few from David Beckstead, and you can follow his Instagram at Mr. Icehole and check out all of his work. This is just a few of his paintings here that he sent over to me. You seem to like waterfalls a lot there, David, and that's great. I think this one here is my favorite of yours, but keep up the brilliant work, pal, and thanks for the submission. And we got a wet on wet painter here who's a bit new to the game. This is from Daz, and I gotta tell you, man, that's pretty good for a beginner painter. Now, Daz also has a YouTube channel you can all check out and subscribe to. Search his handle at Daz Alien Geek for all things gaming related. And while you're at it, please follow his wife's art page on Instagram at Kate and Guyan Art, especially if you love watercolors. I mean, look at that. Lovely, lovely work. Both of you, please keep in touch as well as the artistic progress. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm still not done here, but it is coming along. As you can see, all I'm doing is adding highlights just like we did with the hills, just down here. It's just that we have a lot of ground to cover, literally. But it's not over yet. I still want to show you one last artist. This is a good friend of mine, Mr. Joe Bushman. All right, everyone. It's been a while since I had a guest on the show, so I want to introduce you today to a friend of mine who I know personally. This is Mr. Joe Bushman, Now, Joe and I know each other from playing music in our local scene here in New York. Now, granted, we play different styles and come from different backgrounds of music. I wanted to have him on here because not only is he a very skilled musician, guitar player, he's a nature photographer, and he's an acrylic landscape painter. So, Joe, thanks for being here, and how are you today?
Thank you, man. You're far too kind, as always. But I'm doing pretty well, man. It's good
Yeah,
to be on your show.
yeah, can't thank you enough. So, tell us about um how you got into painting. Is it something you've always wanted to do, and how long have you been doing it?
Okay, so my grandfather is a very skilled oil painter. He has a background in architecture, and so I've always admired his architectural precision with some of the stuff that he does with whether he's painting houses, buildings, or just the fine details that he does. I always found amazing. But I didn't actually start painting until the pandemic hit, and then just I had some time. I figured, what the heck? Everyone is stuck inside. I'm stuck inside. Might as well just pick up a paintbrush and just doodle. And after that, I watched a few Bob Ross episodes straight through and thought, light against dark, dark against light. That makes so much sense. And where I was always intimidated by attempting to do anything like my grandfather does, Bob Ross just made the idea of painting so much easier for me. And so I just kind of ran with it, man.
You didn't have any like artistic background in the sense of painting or drawing like that before the pandemic?
No way.
Wow.
Never picked up a paintbrush. I again would just admire my grandfather's paintings and think, I can never do that. But now it's funny because looks at mine and he goes, that's not at all what I can do. And so
And
it's kind of fun to go back and forth because we're very different styles in how we paint. But yeah, I started during the pandemic, man.
well, look at that. And I mean, it's great that something good came out of it. But I want the world to know. I mean, look at that. Someone with no prior artistic background one day decided to pick up some paints, some brushes, and I'm going to show the world right now, like some of your artwork and what you've done. It's great stuff, honestly.
Oh,
And
shucks.
well, hey, one of the things that I haven't mentioned yet today about Joe is that his profession, which allows him to see nature in real life, and honestly, I think it gives you a very big advantage to your paintings. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, tell us what you do for a living. How you're able to travel, and what kind of works of nature are you able to actually witness outdoors with your own eyes?
Yeah, so that's kind of I guess I got lucky with the career trajectory I'm in right now. But I originally studied music in undergrad, and then I was looking to do film scoring for wildlife documentaries because I still always loved animals and the outdoors and all that. But then I got to travel and see a few things that I thought were a little disturbing um, in the environment. And so I decided I should be a little bit more hands on with science stuff. So I went back to school, got my master's in bio, and I've worked a few seasons with the National Park Service from Sequoia National Park in California to the Outer Banks in North Carolina, where I was doing shorebird and sea turtle work and just up close and personal with all kinds of nature, doing everything from inventory and monitoring to, necropsies on marine mammals that wash up. And so, I was really getting into the thick of it. But ultimately now I'm a biological science technician for U.S. Fish and Wildlife in the Pacific Northwest, and I've got plenty of time to travel and see what else is going on out in that general area and get more influence for some of the paintings. So,
Wow, look at that. And I'm just gonna show the world here some of your photography and like things that not even that you painted that you've seen with your own eyes. And I just love seeing it when, go scroll on Instagram and, oh, there's Joe. Where is Joe? That's crazy. You know, like the fact that you're just able to see all these wonders, and then you transition them onto that canvas, and it's wonderful, man. Very fantastic. Great work always. And you know, I have to ask you though, have you tried oils yet?
So it's a definite interest of mine, and eventually I plan to move into oils. But
Okay.
I'm still waiting until I feel I have some control over the acrylics first before I move into it, which is it'll be some time, but I definitely look to get into oils.
Wow. All right. You know, well, maybe we can do that together one day and make a giant mess. Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah. Do you, I have to ask because I have a lot of people who ask me, can you do wet on wet with acrylics? Do you use any additional mediums to your paints, such as retardants or liquids to keep the acrylics wet?
So it's funny coming from my perspective of having little to no experience about knowing anything about, mediums or anything like that. I'd probably have to look on a YouTube video or maybe even your videos to even first find out, like, oh, what's a medium? And originally, when I was first looking to varnish some of my paintings, I went to the store and I saw gloss medium, and I was like, does that mean it's a medium gloss? Or and I was just so naive to what it actually was. But honestly, no, I just start a little quick with the acrylics to try and maintain some degree of wet on wet, and I would go a little heavier with some of the paints. But now I go back and forth from wet on wet, letting things dry, and I do have one medium that I used for a couple of paintings, but I rarely use them.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. I mean, either way, it works. And, you know, one of these days, I'm just going to have to make a video on, like, okay, this is how you use acrylic for wet on wet. And there's other YouTubers who do it. It's beautiful work. But, you know, everybody always comes to me. And, like, you know, because acrylics don't make as much of a mess as oils, I will admit that. Because
Yeah,
I used to paint with acrylics myself, and I used to be so intimidated by oils. Now it's like, I
that's where I'm at.
now it's like I never want to go back. I'm like
Yeah,
oils. I'm like all you do is mix mud, but like when you know how to control the consistency of your paint, it's like wait a minute. So I'll have to do that. But
one
you know
day I'll learn
whether
how to do that.
yeah whether anyone out there is watching, if you don't if you're not familiar with making your paints stay wet or whatever, it's not an excuse not to paint. The point, you have paint, you have brushes, you have something to paint on, you go for it.
For sure, man, for sure.
I appreciate the shirt, by the way.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
When you had first said that we listen to different styles of music, I was like, I don't know about that
Well,
entirely.
we play different styles.
Oh yeah, we
I'll say,
definitely
yeah.
play different styles.
Yeah. So, my last question for you is going to be, how do you personally go about selling your paintings? See, I sell paintings often, but it's usually commission work for my still life portraits, and almost never my landscapes. So, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure you make a happy little buck every now and there.
every once in a while something pops up, but I would say that right now I finished my website. It needs some, some modifications, but I finally have something up and running. Uh, Very simply, joebushmanart.com. And I've got everything from some of my more recent paintings up there to a link to my Fine Art America page where you can order prints. And honestly, that website's awesome. You can order everything from, customized batteries for your mobile device or um, tote bags, pillows. It's honestly really cool. So I've got stuff on there as well, linked directly through my website. But primarily, I have not made as much of an effort to try and sell my paintings as I should. I've just posted them on social media, and pretty much whatever bites, and I should be a little bit more active about that because I've got quite a bit right now.
I mean, do you really have to be? Because very often I see, hey, I sold this painting. I sold this painting. I'm like, this guy, but a website for myself and all those links and everything is something maybe I need to look into.
It's a
That'll be
great
the
idea,
next
man.
step. That'll be
If
the next
anything,
step.
it just serves as a great portfolio for all the work.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and so, like on my Fine Art America, I've got some of my photography on there. I've got the paintings on there as well as my own website. So, it's kind of nice. And then every once in a while, like around the holidays, this year was the first year that I did some ornaments, and I got feedback from a few people that were pretty eager to have a couple of those ornaments. So I ended up making quite a bit more than I was originally planning to. So, yeah.
Wonderful, man. Wonderful. Well, Joe, I can't thank you enough for being here with us today. The world definitely deserves to see you and your work. Hopefully, this gets you more support. And before I let you go, tell the world now what the best way to hit you up is for commissions, or if they want to buy one of your paintings. I mean, you mentioned the website, but take this time now to give us all your plugs to your social media and other websites, and where we can follow and check out the band too. Can't forget about
Yeah,
Sap
for
Green.
sure. So the band I'm in is Ghost Pony. You can find them at Ghost Pony on Instagram, Facebook, all the standard social media. We've got some tracks that are currently being mixed by the engineer right now, and we should be hearing back from that soon. But as far as paintings go, I'm pretty active on Instagram and Facebook. Should probably think about making a TikTok at some point, but we'll see how that goes. And yeah, Instagram, Joe Bushman. I post all of my paintings on there, and again, right through the website, joebushmanart.com. It's I've got pretty much everything up there, and you can connect to me right through the website as well.
Wonderful, man. Wonderful. And I will post all those links in the description below. Everybody, please check it out. And anything last thing you want to say to us?
I'd like to say thank you to you for being able to organize an awesome channel and showcase your works as well, because I think you and I started painting and sending stuff back and forth to each other, and it was just inspiring. It was awesome, man. It's good to have like a nice community of
Yes.
artists getting together and chatting and doing fun stuff like that.
Yes, that's the whole point. One of the things I really try to do through this channel is not necessarily just to teach, but influence and inspire, and hopefully everybody as artists, we all support each other and got each other's back, because not only do we all need that support, but from the world, but it helps conquer that fear.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. Couldn't say it better myself.
Wonderful, man. All right, well, thanks once again for being with us, and hopefully next season I'll have you back again too.
Yeah, that'd be great, man. I look
Great.
forward to it.
All right, brother.
Wow, great work once again from Joe Bushman. So folks, as you can see, all I did was lay out my terrain here with the highlights the same way we did the rolling hills. Just decided where I want more brightness, what's going to be in the shadows, and maybe this is a little darker here because I'll take that dirty fan brush that we made with these spruce trees, or whatever trees you call them. I just know I want the branches to go up. I've seen the pictures in Ireland, they have them. And make them a little bit more detailed. So how about ones that are a little bit closer, right here? Maybe a little taller. Yeah, no taller than that. And to the top, we're just touching with just the corner, just that corner. And now we begin to go up. Flip it over if you run out of color. And there we are, very big, very full. I'm gonna give it a twin. Maybe it has a brother right here. I just went into the dark hill color we made. Should be a little bit darker than those. Maybe if it's not, no big deal. And yeah, maybe. Yeah, just like that. It looks like a big mush of color, I know, but here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna, to help distinguish these trees from one another, let's go into what I have here, a tray of the thin white medium. I put it in a tray so I don't contaminate my jar when I have to go into there with a dirty color. So I'm gonna get some thin white and maybe go into our yellows here. And I'm thinning it out because a thinner paint will stick to a thick paint. And that paint we have on the canvas now is so many layers, so very thick. Maybe a bit brighter. Just create and mess around with all your values until you are satisfied. Yeah, there we go.
Guys, this is important. Let's check it out.
Granted, the light is coming this way. I'm gonna add some highlights here, because maybe this is where it's catching it. Maybe there's still more shadow over here for some reason. But I'm adding on the highlights the same exact way, just with the corner. And that'll help distinguish where these trees actually are from each other. Now, one thing we can do too is we can take the palette knife, go into a tiny bit of burnt umber, a little bit of titanium white, keep it marbly like that. And it's such a tiny roll. I don't even know if you can see that, but it's there. And just where that big space is, yeah, there we go. And I'm just touching it. That's it, that's all. And we can come down below it with that very dirty 2-inch brush we had for the highlights and just touch that up on the bottom. And there we are.
Holy smokes.
And I'll take a little bit more paint, and you spend as much time at home deciding how you want this terrain to be. I don't know if I'll ever get to visit Ireland, but I'm pretty sure it's much more beautiful than my piece of work, right? You can also take the palette knife and go here where your trees are and just, yeah, there we go, sharpen that edge, just the very tip. I would also go ahead and fully clean that fan brush, get all the paint, as much of it off as you can first with a shop towel, and then go into your solvent, whether it be oil, paint thinner, whatever you got. Just be sure if you're working with paint thinner, you're working in a very well ventilated area. So, or maybe even better yet, take a clean fan brush that you haven't used yet. I forgot it was over here. All right, I'll go into my tray of liquid white again, my thin white medium, my magic white, or maybe I made it myself, you'll never know. And get some thin paint, some thin white paint, and change the consistency mixed in with my titanium white right there. Thin paint sticks to a thick paint. I almost messed that up. Wow. As long as I don't mess up the painting, right? So, yeah, I want a waterfall here, I know. So maybe it just goes over from off the edge of the canvas and crashes down like that. So let's grab more paint and, of course, there we are. And we can just flick upwards, just like we made the branches on these trees, just like that. And it just splashes. Nice. And it's swirling like this. And let's grab a little bit more paint. It's swirling, and it's going to come down again like that. Just like that. And splashes. With every waterfall, you gotta have a splash. You got to. Okay. A little bit more thin white. We'll thin that out again. And try not to go over it, you know, a lot. You'll just blur out your waterfall, and you don't want that. You want it in there. Yeah, just making it a little bit wider. Can be a little tough, but with practice, you will get it. I promise you. Because if I can do it, so can you. So we have some water falling there and splashing around. And there we are. And the water is just flowing. This brook of a little river right in our greenery. More thin white. You'll find you might often have to come into that as it hits up against the land, which we're gonna add some detail with in a second. Let's take and put that dirty fan brush down. Don't clean it quite yet. We'll see. Let's take some burnt umber here. Whoa, that almost went off my palette. Do not want that. I want it contained. And flatten that out. Get a roll of paint. And like add the landmass between the greenery and the water here. And I'm just touching. This is not a firm touch with the knife at all. Be careful not to mess up my waterfall here. And this obviously has to contain the water. And there we are. So it'll give you really good practice with the knife. If you hear what I'm doing on the canvas, it means I'm just touching really. If I'm going back and forth like this, it's really just the paint that's touching onto the canvas. It's not even the knife itself. So it helps. It helps to have a light hand, a light touch. Right. I really hope I don't go to Ireland one day and then look back on this painting and I'm like, oh boy, don't want to do anyone wrong there. The greatest thing about this holiday is it's also a closure to the winter. And that's good for me because if you've been following me for a while, you know how I feel about the cold weather. Not a fan of it. I'm all for the summertime and I can't wait. And seeing the greenery like this, at least here in America, you're not going to see it if you're going to have a cold winter like that. I'm just a big fan of green, bright colors. The wintertime is not good for my depression, naturally so. And down here too. If you feel the same way, comment below. I mean, I do like the way winter looks in terms of landscapes, and they do make beautiful paintings. Here we are. I'm just constantly reloading the knife. All right. How about here off to the side? We'll load the knife the same way again. We just make a big rock like this. Wow, when I said big rock, I wasn't kidding. It's just sitting right between the landmass and the water, sitting right there. I do plan to make a tutorial eventually on how to make rocks and stones. Full tutorial, nothing but rocks and stones. But this is good to pay attention to as well. And you could have used the Van Dyke Brown for this. It doesn't matter. Just running out of Van Dyke Brown right now. Still have plenty of Umber left. I prefer Umber over Van Dyke Brown. Gives you more of a pure brown color, or at least the brand of paint I use. But you tell me what you prefer. And now, since we added that landmass here, let's take some titanium white. We mix that onto our palette with the burnt umber. And you don't have to keep it all one solid color. It might even be better if you don't. And very lightly, we'll add the highlight on these rocks right there. Very light touch, just like putting snow on the mountains. All right, and just a little bit here and there in the landmass we created. Gives you more detail, makes it look more natural. Just constantly reloading that knife. Being careful not to go too far into our waterfall. We don't want to mess with that. We did it so good. I'm pretty sure you even did it better than me. And just like all those other artists I showed you, just send me pictures of your work. Doesn't have to be paintings I did. Okay. All right. Let's take that fan brush we had for our waterfall color. The thin white medium mixed into our titanium white. And we can touch up now just the edges here. On this side, and it's a big, wide waterfall. More of the thin white, just to thin it out, See? You could even tell right on the palette how much thinner it is compared to all the other paints. And where it hits that dirt, maybe once it crashes into those hills, makes little swirls. And it makes the water swell up nice. Yeah, there we go. And especially, oh, there's a wild river actually, especially under our big rocks down here that we made. We have to, we absolutely have to. All right. Now you can go ahead and fully clean this fan brush, or if you have the other fan brush we used, which I did fully clean, go into, actually no, man, I'm not sure if we should have cleaned that or not. Go into our highlight color here, and we're just going to touch up where the land met the grass over here, just a little bit. And we're going to get rid of those edges that we made with the knife. I'm going to blend that right in. In between the sunlight this gets and the river right next to it, this grass is probably very, very healthy. And that's probably what makes it look so beautiful in the old country. There we go. And down here too, right? There we go.
Nice.
But now something's got to contain this water over here. So let's take the 1-inch brush that we made before, that I kept dirty actually, go into our hill color and load the brush in one direction like this so we can curve out the bottom like that. But we'll flip it over, and with that flipped end, we're just gonna make some bushes here, some landmass on this side to help contain this waterfall. More paint. You get as much paint as it takes. What's important is what we're going to do next. All right. So let's go into, again, you know, I have a tray of thin white medium down here. And I do that because I pour a little bit out of the can so I don't stick dirty brushes in there and make my can of thin white into, I don't know, garbage colors. Who knows what's going to happen then. All right, let's take some of that thin white and go into our highlight color. And very gently now, even with all that color on the brush, it's just such a light touch. It's so funny how light that is. I do go into a tutorial about this, upper right hand corner, if you want to see it, on how to make trees and bushes. Okay, maybe we can go into yellow ochre as well. And there we go. And keep loading that brush if you need to. And a good indication if you're loading it correctly is if it makes those little ridges right there. That's how you know that brush is ready. You turn it over, and there you go. And make sure you leave some dark in there to help separate these things. And I'll even go into a little bit of Cad Red, because that'll look really nice mixed with all those yellows. If you can tell, Cad Red is not a color that you're going to need too much of in this painting. You can if you want. You can have red bushes down here. I decided to stay green because that's what I see a lot of when I look up pictures of Ireland. And there we are. Now, you can put that dirty 1-inch brush down, but don't clean it yet. However, you can go ahead and clean that fan brush. And here is why. Take your fan brush now and go into solvent if you need to in order to clean it. I'm going to go into a lot of Van Dyke Brown. A lot of it. You can use up what's left of that burnt umber. It doesn't matter. Just make sure you have a lot of paint on that brush. Yes. All right. Now, big tree right here sticking up out of those bushes. Where should it go? And this is the part where everybody freaks out. You're going to freak out thinking, oh, you ruined your painting. What are you doing? And I'm just going to go for it right here.
Holy, look at all this damage.
All right, you know, I'm just going to be that crazy and get the reactions and do it again.
No, don't like that.
And maybe there's another big branch that goes off, just off the canvas like that. Make a big tree. And if you thought that was crazy, how about we make another tree that we can't actually even see. It's just coming off the corner and going right up over here. Yep. We don't know where that's going to go. You make that branch as big or as little as you want. All right, now let's take that 1-inch brush that we had, right? And start putting some branches on this bad boy. Some leaves, I should say. I'm going to put some branches in there as well. And there we are. so much of that dark color. We can fill it up right there. It's fine. Just make sure it's dark. This is all the way in the foreground to us, so color would be darker, right?
Well, that makes sense.
We can finish this off. But instead of a rounded edge, you know what? It's not too late. You can just flatten out both sides. I don't even know what I'm doing. This is a different color, but I'm at to the point where, you know what? I'm just going to do what I feel like. And that's how you should be painting too. That's the attitude you need to have. Just now with, yep, some leaves up here. And there we are. Now let's take our liner brush and make really thin colors with either the solvent, or you can use linseed oil. Dip that liner brush into that stuff off to the side and get your browns so thin to the point where it's almost dripping down your palette. That's the consistency you want. That's what you want to do. And twist that brush if you need to, because it should be very sharp at the end, like that. And add some detail work here. Some branches, one there, one here. Something's holding up all these leaves, right? Nice big full tree. A friend of mine who did go vacation in Ireland said it was actually very hot. He went in the summer, so this would be a nice place to find some shade. Okay, now what? Up here too, right? We made another tree. And you decide how many branches you want, and you focus however long you want on this detail work. Right? Let's go back to that palette knife. That's still dirty, and that's okay. A little bit more brown. Just make sure that color is a little bit marbly, and get a roll of paint. And light's coming this way, so why don't we add some highlights and just touch the trunk of that tree and just go like that, right? Let's actually can make this a little bit brighter if we want, so we have more variations. There we go, that's better. And for the other side, you know what? Why don't we wipe that knife off on some shop towels. Get it all clean and get some titanium white with the littlest bit of phthalo blue. There might be too much blue, actually. You got to be careful with that phthalo blue. It's very, very powerful. Okay. And on the other side, we went this way. Now we'll go make some shadows going from right to left. Just touching, just moving that knife. Bit of a funny way, actually. And what you can do is you can clean that knife off and sort of where these two colors meet, not blend them, but just have them, just sort of touch into each other. It'll make it look a lot more natural. And there we are. What I should have done
was, while I had that other color on the other half of the tree, do it to the other side because we have two trees here. Maybe the light's reflecting from down under this one. And I wouldn't worry too much about going into our leaves because we still gotta put highlights on these leaves. I'm going all for it for detail. Dirty brush we had, right? Well, let's thin it out again into some Cad Yellow, right? Or yellow ochre. Gotta switch it up. Let's brighten it up because we are making such a mess. Let's brighten it up with a little titanium white. Yep. I think our Cad Yellow is pretty much gone. That's okay. Okay, let's go up here first. And there we are. Just add your highlights. And make sure you're leaving enough dark because that's what makes this whole thing. That's what makes it all work. So go into our paint once again, and now we're gonna go curve out one of the ends, just like that. And just the way we sit, in the same way we made the bushes down here, right here. But I think since the light's coming this way, more highlights will be seen like this on this side of the tree. Maybe I'll just keep that side mostly dark. Really don't want to kill all that. Yeah, okay, let's go into a bit of yellow ochre. And it's so fun to do, it kind of makes you wish, oh, I wish I made more leaves and more bushes. Because now you just want to do it to everything, right? There we are.
Nice, very nice.
Oh, actually, don't clean that brush. Go down here and touch this up. That tree is not just sitting on nothing, is it? So we're just gonna cover that up. We don't know where that tree is growing out of. Okay, folks, well, I think we're gonna call this painting done. And yeah, not bad for someone who's never been to Ireland, right?
Maybe, maybe not. Maybe f yourself.
That must be that Irish spirit I always hear about. Well, in any case, folks, if you did enjoy today's painting and if you have painted along, please have a drink for me at your favorite local pub. And remember, if you are out partying hard, call a cab, call an Uber, take the bus, walk, call a sober friend to drive you. There's so many options you can do to help save lives as well as your own. So, till next time, keep your dreams high, your pompadours in the sky. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Let's paint together.